Good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's summertime. It's cricket season. That means it's Brian Lara cricket time on PlayStation, and me playing the fourth Cricket World Cup here on Brian Lara Cricket. We are now in 1987. You may realise that I've actually missed out 1983, which was meant to be played in New Zealand. Now, I started playing it towards the end of the summer last year, but then somehow the game decided to delete itself off its memory card, so I couldn't finish off the 1983 Cricket World Cup in New Zealand. I've lost the game for good. So I'll have to come back to the 1983 Cricket World Cup in New Zealand on a later date. So the two World Cups, as you know, that I've played and saved on YouTube, have been both won by the West Indies. West Indies beat Australia in 1975 at Lords, and they retained the trophy at Colombo in 1979. This is the fourth Cricket World Cup up to be played here. 12 teams, two groups of 6, top 4 teams go into a quarter-final, semi-final, final knockout round. It's a month's worth of action. This is going to be the draw, but first of all, let's have a look at the host nation of this tournament. The host nation of this tournament, as you will see now on the map, is India. India, the fourth host nation to host this tournament the first time. The venues for this tournament are Bombay, Hyderabad, Madras, Delhi, Calcutta, and finally Ahmedabad. So 6 venues for the next month or so for this 12-team tournament. And this is how the groups were drawn. Group 1 contains Zimbabwe, associate members Zimbabwe, New Zealand, who reached for semi-finals in 1975 and 79. Ireland are back for more things after reaching the quarters in 1979. Pakistan, who will be the second favourites to win the tournament. Pakistan, rebel South African 11. Remember, South Africa still have got apartheid in their country, and it looks like that's not going to get any better. And the 2 times winners, the West Indies, are in Group 1. For that, I'd say probably my prediction, West Indies are considered. Actually, I'll talk about that in a moment. In Group 2, a little bit more open. Sri Lanka, now an established test playing nation. Kenya, Australia, England, who reached the World Cup final in 1979. India, the host nation, and Holland in Group 2. Now, the betting for this tournament, India are actually going into this tournament as the favourites. So for the first time ever, the West Indies are going into the World Cup not as favourites. But India are the favourites, and because the tournament's being played in the subcontinent, Pakistan are the second favourites, West Indies are the third favourites, England are fourth favourites, Australia, despite the decimation of World Series cricket the last 2 tournaments, they seem to have got their players back. They look like a bit of a harmonised team under new captain Alan Border. Alan Border's played for Australia for the last decade or so. He has been captain for the last 3 or 4 years. They haven't really improved in the Test arena yet, but one day we're hoping that they can produce a performance here. Group 1, you would think, would be Pakistan, West Indies, New Zealand and Zimbabwe. Probably in that order. Group 2, I'd say India, England, Australia and Sri Lanka in that order as well. But anything can happen over the next few weeks. Now we're going to go to the star players. We picked 20 players or 22 players. We picked 20 players we think will shine at this World Cup. And incredibly, we've actually picked 4 from Australia and 4 from England and 2 from the others. Because some people think that this Australian team looks pretty good in this tournament. So we've gone 4 to start off with. Remember, these are aliases, so we are in 1987, so the likes of this guy will be David Boone. An opening batsman. You then got Jeff Marsh, You then got Jeff Marsh, also an opening batsman, so we think that those two can really hit it off at the top of the order. You've got Steve Waugh as an all-rounder, who actually is Steve Waugh in this case, and there's a really good fast bowler in the name of Craig McDermott. We think that he could have a big say in this tournament, despite the fact that most of the pitches here will probably take spin here in India and will be quite flat. For England, the 4 star players, Graham Gooch is back again as one of the star players. He was picked as a potential star player in 1979 and did pretty okay, if I remember rightly. I think he got about 300 runs in the tournament. You've then got the very talented Alan Lamb. Remember he played a match in Australia a few years ago in the World Series, his tournament, and they needed something like 24 runs off the final 6 balls, and he hit 24 runs off 5 balls to win them, to give England a sensational victory in a group match. So, yep, he's there as a star player. Phil De Freitas, medium fast bowler, and we've got in with a sort of slow left armour in Eddie Hemmings, because obviously the pitches will take spin. Eddie Hemmings has been picked as a star player for England. The 2 star players now, we picked 4 star players for Australia and England. We think that they could have surprise tournaments. For India, Kevin Dev's back as a star player. He was picked as a star player in '83, but as you know, the game which I was playing on here mysteriously got deleted, so unfortunately we won't know what his performance was like in '83 until on a later date, amazingly enough. So Kapil Dev, star batsman or star all-rounder for India, and the star bowler for India, we've decided to go with someone called Manjay Pabaka. He's 24 years old. He's got some real pace about him. He's been picked as the star bowler. For New Zealand, we've got Captain Jeff Crow. We picked as the start key batsman for New Zealand. And I think that he can captain the team pretty well. But looking at the New Zealand side, they don't look as strong as one in 75 and 79. This is going to be the first tournament that Glenn Turner will not be playing in. Glenn Turner obviously won player of the tournament in 1975 and scored that record 548 runs I think he got in 1995 and played in 1979 and 1983. Star bowler will be Willie Watson, so fast bowler there for New Zealand. As for Pakistan, Salim Malik is going to be the star batsman. We picked as the star batsman for Pakistan. And the star bowler, Imran Khan. Imran Khan was injured in 1983. He tore a quadricep in his leg, and there was reports that he could never bowl again. He's been bowling brilliantly for the last 2 or 3 years, albeit at reduced pace, and it seems like he's back to his best. The captain of this Pakistan team. Pakistan, in my opinion, India may be the favourites, but Pakistan are very close second favourites. As for Sri Lanka, Arjuna Ranatunga is the star batsman for them, and someone called Ravi Ranekar, who's a sort of medium pace / fast bowler, will be their star bowler. We don't really know much about him. Hopefully we'll know about him in the next few weeks. West Indies, obviously Vivian Richards had a pretty decent tournament in '79. Remember, he scored that wonderful 100 in the World Cup final against Australia in 1975. I think he's got something like 3 centuries in the tournament, 3 centuries in World Cup cricket. One of the all-time greats, probably playing in his last ever World Cup. He's the star batsman. The star bowler this time, obviously they were completely different team this time. Change of bowlers, the likes of Andy Roberts, Michael Holding, Joel Garner are all retired, and Malcolm Marshall is not fit for this tournament, so we've got in and chose Patrick Packerson as the star bowler for the West Indies. And for Zimbabwe, David Houghton, the captain, we think will be the star batsman for Zimbabwe this tournament, and the star bowler, we believe, will be John Tricos, a guy that played for South Africa in their last test match in 1970 before they got banned from apartheid. He has been picked for this tournament, and we think that his off spin will play a huge part for Zimbabwe in this World Cup. So those are the 20 players that we think will shine in this tournament. As you said, pick 4 from Australia and 4 from England. We think that there could be a bit of a surprise here. Alan Poulter has said for Australia, we've not come here and make up the numbers. They've had, well, we don't know what happened in 1983 because of what happened with the thing, but they were awful in 1979. And despite not being at their complete best in 75, they had a winning mentality and gritted it and played out that classic final against West Indies. So that's the preview of the 1987 World Cup to be played here in India on Brian Lara Cricket and PlayStation. The opening match of the tournament, as you saw earlier, will be Zimbabwe versus New Zealand. So, it'll be the second time those two have played. I think New Zealand won by 6 wickets in their opening match in 1979 in Sri Lanka. So, until then, for a match report between Zimbabwe and New Zealand for the opening match of the 1987 Cricket World Cup to be played here in India on Brian Lara Cricket and PlayStation, this is me, Lawrence Howard, and bidding you goodbye and hoping that the next 4 weeks will be fantastic entertainment. The next 4 to 6 weeks will be some fantastic entertainment for the 50 over game. Until then, bye-bye.